But let's get right into this, man. This is an amazing rematch between Israel Adesanya and Robert Whittaker. Are going to bring it back. A lot of different circumstances surrounding this one. Obviously, the first one was just a masterclass for Israel Adesanya and his counter-striking, big knockout, bloodying the face of the champion Robert Whittaker down in Australia. Humongous, massive crowd in attendance for that one. But again, we're in Texas, so we got another big crowd coming to this one. What are your initial thoughts on this rematch, and what does Whittaker have to do differently this time around?
Well, I will say Texas will be electric. I remember just recently this last year when I fought Vicente Luque in Houston, that place was loud. That was one of the louder arenas I fought at in the United States. So I know the crowd's going to bring the heat as always.
Always.
The fans always show up on fight night, especially for a pay-per-view. But you know, that fight, that first fight, man, it was really, it didn't look like the same Robert Whittaker. He just was kind of barreling in on a straight line. Really, it kind of looked like he was headhunting the challenger, Israel Adesanya. And, you know, he got caught at the end of that first round, and it could have been all but over with just 10 more seconds. That fight could have been done in the first. But, you know, Israel, that truly was the moment when he established this run that he's been on. You know, he's a lot of people are trying to compare him to the great Anderson Silva. That's another conversation in itself, but I'm very excited for this rematch because I don't think it's going to be the same fight we saw before. I think that we're going to see Robert Whittaker stick to the skills that he possesses that made him so dangerous, particularly the off timing, throwing the double strikes. And when I say the double strike, I love the way Robert will throw his right straight and throw the right kick over his shoulder. He does a good job masking his strikes, blending them all together. So, like I said, that first fight, I just don't think that was the Robert Whittaker that we've known to grow and understand as a fighter during his UFC run. So I'm excited to see him get back to what he does best.
Yeah, man. And he seemed tired, right? We want to talk about the mental state that these fighters have to be in to perform on that level, your hometown. Now, I know Izzy, you know, is living in New Zealand, so it was kind of a home game slightly for him, where a lot of New Zealanders and the Kiwis were going to come over there as well. But that's Whittaker's backyard there, where he's at now. And he just talked to us in fighter meetings. I remember him saying he was over it. He needed a break. He needed to spend time with his family. He needed to not think about being the champion and preparing for yet another training camp. This is one of those sports. It's individual. Yes, there's teams. Yes, there's people around us, but it's on your mind because you are the one who's stepping into that octagon. You are the one who's going to be facing that guy who wants to knock you out, who wants to choke you unconscious. For people that have never been involved in a combat sport, I don't care if it's boxing, wrestling, mixed martial arts, the fact that you know there's one individual out there that you've got to think about for weeks, sometimes for these champions, months on end, and see them several times knowing that you're about to go in there. It's draining. So to hear Whittaker took a break, hung out with the family, played his video games. Now he's hungry again. Now he's happy. Now he doesn't feel like he's got to put anything on. He wants to be in there. He wants to be the best and he wants to compete. He doesn't think as much about the belt. He just thinks about beating the next person in front of him. But now we're in Houston, right? There's a huge crowd again. It's for the belt. It's Izzy who's knocked him out and bloodied his face in front of his home country. We got the press conference today, right? We got the weigh-ins. So we'll see a lot about Robert Whittaker on Thursday to see how that press conference handles him. And if he's cool as a cucumber there and he seems to have the right responses without getting frustrated, I think we'll see a different Whittaker in there on Saturday night. But to be in there with Izzy, who knows this, you know, he knows he got under his skin.
I was just going to say, Paul, we're talking about Whittaker and how he wasn't himself on fight night and, you know, and him doing what he had to do to get his mentality back to the level it needs to be at for him to compete at his best. But is that even going to be enough?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, I think some people, that was such a shock to everybody in hindsight. It's like with each fight that passes that Robert has that he wins, like once he got the Till fight under his belt, it's like, okay, he's looking a little different. Beats Cannonier, and we're like, oh, wow, okay. He's starting to get his swagger back. And then you see the Kelvin Gastelum fight, and you're like, holy cow, this guy is firing on all cylinders. So it kind of highlights what he was saying coming out of that first Israel Adesanya fight. But is it enough? I mean, Israel has just been dominant as of late. You know, he is so dominant that he tried to dabble his feet in the 205-pound division against the ultra-tough Jan Blachowicz. And even though things didn't go his way, it's still it's still just that to me that also highlights how great he is. Like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna let you middleweights kind of figure it out. I'm starching you guys. I'm walking through you a little bit. I'm gonna go try and fight this guy up a weight class. I'll be back when you guys figure it out. So is it gonna be enough? That remains to be seen.